So, welcome to everybody. This will be a master class where we're going to talk about, everybody's talking about Italian drinks. You know, everybody know Negroni now is really famous, it's really fashion drinks, but nobody talks why Italians drink bitter drinks. Nobody know about that. Nobody say, hey, why everybody was drinking something different and Italians drink bitter drinks. So we're gonna analyze this. Before that, we have to start with a small resume. So here we go. Attention. The content can be explicit, so please. And we start with a small video about what was the mixing culture in Italy in the past. Okay, so now we can start. Masterclass is finished, so bye-bye. So the strange case of Italian mixing culture. And I give the microphone to my partner, Antonio.
Thanks, everybody. So, we speak about drinks, right? And we know that the mixology started with two important things, the punch and the cocktail. You know, the punch was spread by the Navy and especially the East India Company sailors that created this fantastic drink made with 5 elements. So spirits, sugar, lemon, sour, because it was lemon but vinegar as well. So tea and spice. And the cocktail started in maybe the first years of the 19th century as a concoction with this strange thing that was the bitter, you know. Problem is that in Italy the cocktail culture never started, maybe, because we have maybe some bottle cocktail. And now I would love to give the word to my colleague Leonardo that will explain us why.
So, all around the world we have a situation. Everybody was drinking 2 different kinds of drinks. The punch-inspired drinks and the cocktail-inspired drinks. So punch was the first big things all around the world about mixed drinks, and was based on the recipe that we showed you before. And after there was a cocktail later. All around the world, if you make an analysis about what people was drinking, you can find punch before and cocktail after. All around the world, but not in Italy. Italy was like a country closed in a bubble. Everything was happening all around the world, didn't touch our countries for a long time. For more than 100 years, we was absolutely not contaminated by the globalization of the recipes that you can find all around the world. So punch and cocktail arrived in Italy almost 100 years before the rest of the world. But there's a why. Why the cocktails and the punch didn't arrive in Italy. You see, there was two guys that was looking at us, like they only drink vermouth and bitters, and the force is powerful in that planet. So we have a totally different culture that's come from the past. In Italy, we develop a different way of drink, a different way of drinks, and everything was based on bitters. Like you know, like the culture of the bitters starts probably in Greece. You know, this guy called Hippocrates that started to use spices to create new medicaments. You know, so Hippocratic wine that spread all around Europe with the Romans. So the Romans starts to spread the culture of Hippocratic and spiced wine all around the world. So what's happened that the lack of contamination have fostered tradition in Italy. We have a strong tradition about our drink culture. We have a huge wine culture. We have a lot of local products. Imagine that if you take every single region of Italy and you're gonna calculate the amount of products that we have in every single region, and you put all together the 20 regions of Italy, you have more product than all around the world. So if you take all the typical product of all around the world, United States, Australia, all the 5 continents, and you put all together, you cannot touch the half of the product we have in Italy. Something like 17,000 different kind of spirits. In every single region, we have something like, in the past, we can have something like 100 different amaros, bitters, vermouth, fortified wines, liquors. It's
Rosolio.
Rosolio. It was the biggest selection in the world of spirits. If you today also, you take the production of Italy, the different products, and you put all together, it's bigger than all the spirits you can find all around the world. Take a big country like the United States. It's a big country. What they have? 5? Bourbon, rye, some herbal spirit copied from the absinthe. That's it. No more. Traditionally, nothing. Only in Rome, we can count minimum 55, 75, probably different recipes of different amaros, liquors. So it's huge. It's a huge amount. So we don't need nothing that come from foreign countries. So this was really interesting. This is just a small selection of what we had. Like, is incredible. But also because the communication of what's happening all around the world didn't arrive in Italy. We don't know that everybody today was drinking punch. We don't know about cocktails, you know? The first appearance of something that can be considered an international drink arrived in Italy in 1891 in a cookbook and was the claret cup. So before 1891, nobody in Italy know almost nothing about the culture of cocktail that was really big in the United States, was really big in France, in Germany, in all around the world, but not in Italy, because we was drinking in this moment something really complex, like why we don't drink cocktails in Italy till this period, because we have Campari. And what is a Campari? Campari is a cocktail in a bottle. You have spirits, sugar, bitters, and you just add water, and we have everything ready in a bottle. So we don't need to go and look for something complex, like a bourbon that is not complex, or a rye where you have to add sugar, you have to add bitters. We don't need it because we have a lot of products that are already like a bottled cocktail. So it's for that Italians didn't need to be involved in the global way of mixed drink. If you take a product like that, rabarbaro, zucca, is not famous in Greece, but in Italy was huge in the past. Imagine that was bars that sell only this. They shake or they had cells. Finish. No more. Because this kind of product was so complex. A lot of herb, a lot of spice, sugar, so bitter. Everything was perfect. But also, what was a bar all around the world in this period? A bar was something like trendy place or not? Like a hotel, nice hotel. Imagine like in the Jerry Thomas period, nice, the best hotel in the world, have a good bartender behind the bar. Not in Italy. A bar in Italy was, Antonio?
Was a pharmacy. Was the pharmacy, was the grocery, was the herbalist shop, because vermouth and bitters were sold as a medicine in the past, but they started serving directly at the counter. But it was a medicine shop. It wasn't a bar. Gasper Campari, for example, fell down in the battle of the yesteryear Italian bartenders because he was working with Mr. Martini in the bar bus in Torino, and he would love to make his own recipe of vermouth, because the barkeeper, the Italian barkeeper of the past, the best skill was to create a vermouth. Gasper Campari was not so glad by the customers, because he would love his vermouth more bitter, with a lot of bitter inside. So he has, for this and other reason, he has to move to Milan. And in Milan, he created his own famous bitter. Gasper Campari was a bartender, actually. His son then developed the company, but Gasper Campari, Alessandro Martini were bartenders. So this is why in Italy was different with cocktails. They created their own cocktails that they sold in bottle. We have an example in Rome nowadays, in the Bar Vanni. They have the house aperitif that is bottled before. So they put in the fridge and they have only to serve into the glass.
And
So
this is a really old tradition in Italy. So they started to do that long time ago. So it's something really common for us. So everybody talk always about two different concepts of mixing: the cocktails and the punch. And I want to add one more. So the Italian way of mixing, the Italian mixing concept, that is bitter, 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 and if it's possible, bitter. So it's a different concept of a balance based on the taste of Italian. The punch and the cocktails was a two-way of served drink based on the palate, the taste of the people. They start to make punch because probably they need to balance what they have, you know. You have to balance the lime, you have to balance the strongness of the arak that I don't think that was very good to drink neat. So they need to balance this. Also the cocktail, everybody was drinking a sling. Sling is quite boring things, you know. Like if you don't add a little bit of spice with bitter, probably the cocktail culture doesn't evolve like that, because sling was quite bitter. It was like boring, but with a dash of bitters became something different, a new dimension. Exactly what we want to talk about Italy. So what's Italians was drinking in this period? Who was drinking vermouth with lemon zest. Vermouth is such a complex wine, you know. You can find inside the vermouth 20, 25, 30, 35, sometimes 40 different spices and herbs. You have the sugar, and you have the wine. Also the wine profile gives to the vermouth a really interesting profile. So it's a really complex drink. It's probably one of the most complex drinks that you can find on the market, because you can imagine you have not only the spice like in a classic Amaro, but you have the wine also that gives to the vermouth a totally different dimension. So what do we drink? With lemon zest. When you see somebody that say, okay, but in the Negroni, in the past, they put orange slice. Yeah, this is true, but in the modern point of view about Negroni. But remember that in Italy, for a long time, in the drinks, we only put lemon. Why? Because lemon you can find whole year long. Orange you can find 2 months, December and January. So traditionally the vermouth was served with lemon. And lemon was so common. The orange, no, it was so difficult to find, because it was produced in the south of Italy. And you can imagine like in the 1790 to bring oranges from Sicily to Milan, We take 3 days today for go from Sicily to Milan. You can imagine in the 1790s, so was incredible. Vermouth mixed with herbal elixir or other bitters. So we start to blend the vermouth with other bitters, with Campari, with the rabarbaro, with gentian liquor, with a lot of different bitters. Why? Because vermouth is a complex, but also a little sweet stuff. So the taste of the people starts to change. People was exactly like in other states, a little tired about sweet things. They want to have something more bitter. Bitter is an adult taste. So they start to mix the vermouth with the quina, gentian, rhubarb, and also they start to add these bitters to the wine. Wine culture, like I said before, is big in Italy. So here we are, the first global cocktail in Italy. So the cocktail that starts to be well known all around the country, from north to south, is the Milano Torino. Now, the bitter from Milan, like Antonio say, was the Campari. Campari was a famous bitter. He failed in the production of vermouth. They say, I want my stuff more bitter. I go to Milan, I'm gonna produce my bitter. Mixed with the classic Turin vermouth, so with the classic sweet vermouth, became really, really famous. And is named by the two cities, Milano and Torino. Really simple. You know how this drink was served in AD 80? Was served probably pre-bottle, pre-mix, okay? And without ice. No ice. In a small glass, because ice in Italy is arrived really, really, really late, at the beginning of the 20th century. So this is the first famous Italian drinks. The first approach with the globalization, so the right approach in Italy, was the evolution of the Milano Torino. The Milano Torino became the Americano. Okay? Why the Americano? Because this new concept of mix, like the American concept of mix, arrived in Italy. And what we had now? We have ice, we have soda, shakers, stirrers, and you know, everything that we need for everything that is served in the American way. What is the American way? Like a cocktail that we don't know.
Because the Americans were the first who commercialized ice, and the first who took advantage from some innovation, like the artificial carbonation and the refrigeration. So in Italy wasn't the mainstream. So we just put vermouth bitters, lemon zest, that's it. In the way we added ice and sodas in the drink, the Milano Torino came the Milano Torino in the American way. So to cut some words, as we love to do every time,
because you have
it
to
was the Americano.
Imagine a waitress that have to go to the table and say, sorry, can I please have a vermouth of Milan, a vermouth of Turin mixed with a bitter of Milan, served in the American way. It's really bad. So, Americano. Americano, but is a concept. If I ask to you, what is for you an Americano? What do you say to me? You, what is an Americano? Vermouth, bitter Campari mixed together, soda. Okay? Yes. This came late. At the beginning, the Americano was really a concept of drinks that you can find in every single book that you read, like Jerry Thomas, Harry Johnson, and everybody. You can find vermouth served in the American style. The vermouth cocktail is nothing more than a vermouth served in the American style. Cocktail vermouth Americano. Vermouth and Angostura just had some dash of bitters to a vermouth. This was the Americano in the past. Was the vermouth served in the American way, with soda, with bitters, with other liquors added. So not straight up, not simple, okay? And this is the first recipes of Americano that you can find, published in Italy in 1906, okay? In a really old book. Like you can see, is nothing in common, have nothing in common with the Americano that everybody knows. This is just a vermouth cocktail. So at the beginning, the Americano in Italy was a vermouth cocktail and was not the mix of two
It's
bitters.
interesting to see in this recipe that here you will find a Marsala glass, because Marsala was maybe the ancestor of vermouth, because it was a fortified wine, is a fortified wine. And it's interesting that in an ancient Italian recipe you can find a Marsala glass of vermouth.
That was used like a jigger. The Marsala glass was our jigger, you know. We put in the Marsala glass and you measure. So it's a dose of Marsala was used like a...
Was actually 2 ounces.
So with the arrival of ice, soda, tools, cocktail concept, the Americano had an evolution. And this is in 1930 books what you can find about Americano. Americano became a family of drink. In the 30s there was a lot of Americano, not just one, because Americano was a concept of mix, how to mix something in the American way. And in Italy you can find dozens of different recipes. I found something like 25 different recipes. Every single brand had his way to propose the Americano. So it was very, very interesting. It was huge. Look at that. Americano punto e mezzo. Like there will be a presentation of Carpano in the afternoon, and they're gonna show you the punte mes. So punte mes is a bitter vermouth because it's fortified with the quina and gentian, so it's more bitter. And
It's 1.5 points.
It's 1 point of vermouth and half of other bitters. And there was an Americano called like that.
Before the Punta Mes was prepared in this way.
So they take the inspiration for what we can find in the market. You can see other different Americanos. So Italian recipes become more fresh because people want more freshness. You imagine what was a bar. A bar was like a pharmacy, you know? A place where you go, you have your small drinks, and you go away probably before go to the dinner. Now what is the bar? Bar is a nice place, so people want something different, something fresh, who want to be open air. So we had soda, and we create different drinks. It's a cultural revolution.
You know, Leonardo, that originally Caffè Casoni in Florence, the bar in which the Negroni was born, was a grocery. Was a grocery that sold everything from spices to teas to medicine. So they put just a little counter into the grocery just to serve people who want the medicine ready to drink. And the Negroni was born in this pot. So it was nothing more than a grocery on a herbalist shop that are very typical in the Italy of the first 20th century, the first years.
But we don't have just one mixing concept, bitter, 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 and bitter. It's not only one, we have more. And it's becoming popular and popular and popular today. For example, create drinks inspired by historical and folk recipes which are ennobled by new mode of service. In Italy, there's a lot of drinks that, there's no big bartenders bartenders didn't invent a lot of drinks. Because if you make an analysis about the biggest bartender, most important bartenders in the history, Harry Johnson, Jerry Thomas, blah, 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 they didn't invent nothing. Nothing. They just take what already exists and they serve in a different way. Like had Cato Alexander, had Ice to the Punch, you know, Jerry Thomas, like create fancy presentation for people, but sling, juleps, exist so much time before Jerry Thomas. So the bartender sometimes didn't invent a great drink, but he understands what people likes and propose what he knows to the people in a different way. So exactly what's happening in Italy. I'll show you this. This is a traditional way to eat peach in Italy, from north to south. If you go in Naples in summer, you eat like peaches with wine. So you drink the wine, and at the end of the lunch, you eat the peaches.
With
also,
the Sprigno di Aversa.
Yes. If you also go in Friuli Venezia Giulia, in Trentino, this tradition of serve peach with wine is really popular. So what the genius Italian bartender makes, just take simple things and transform in one of the most classic drink of the history. Really simple, the Bellini. Bellini comes from what we do at home. It's not the invention of a genius. It's just invention of people say, okay, I can take peaches and wine and transform in something more classy, more luxury. So creating the Bellini. That is one of the most popular drink in the world.
And it's nothing more that adding peaches to Prosecco, that is the typical wine of the Veneto region in which Cipriani stands today. So it was just taking a tradition and serving in another way, the way people like this kind of tradition, you know?
So for a long time, Italians just did that. Combination of spiced wine, vermouth, bitters, and liquor all together, balancing in a bitter way. Everybody was happy, and that's it. Now, but like I say to you, imagine that there was a bar, and there's a bar today. It's the Campari bar. It's opening in 1865, I think so, something like that. That for a long time served just two drinks. Thousands of this drink every day. Two drinks. Campari and soda, and Campari shaken with ice. Just take the Campari, you shake a lot, and you serve. You say, okay, it's just a shaken Campari. No, now you know that something like a Campari is like a bottled cocktail. It's already complex, you don't have to add nothing. Okay, I have the secret. They had a dash of orange flower water, but you don't say it in the mouth, it's just a secret. But we have, for example, this. The zucca rhubarb, yes, bye-bye. The zucca rhubarb and the zucca shaken or soda.
This is Roberto Artusio.
This is Roberto Artusio. He is the
he's
guy that
he's
makes.
From Torino,
He's the guy that makes money in Jerry Thomas because I talk, but nobody pay me, so I don't make money. Antonio and Roberto, they work every night really hard. So we are going to prepare a drink that is called shaken rhubarb. The rhubarb is another really interesting thing. I bring rhubarb from Italy because you don't have it here in Greece. And they just shake rhubarb with a little bit of vanilla liquor, okay? And that's it. They shake, 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 shake. They shake a lot. They make a lot of foam, and they serve. Now it's coming rhubarb for everybody, okay? Because I want to say thank you to Di Saronno because gave to us the opportunity to bring zucca in Greece that was not available. So now we shake a lot, and you have to imagine that in this bar, that is the same of the Campari bar. Every 10 years, they change the name and they change the product. So for 10 years, they do shaken Campari, and after 10 years, they do shaken rhubarb. This is crazy. It's like the same family. They are cousin, you know. And every 10 years you see that, and they say, "Oh, there's a battle in the tribunal about who have to put the name," but it's not true. They are friends. They just switch every 10 years. They just do like a fake fight. So you can imagine that in this bar, in the past, you can have two things: shaken rhubarb, or rhubarb with soda, or a coffee. That's it. And this was the mixing culture in Milan: shaken Campari and shaken rhubarb. Now, when we have the slowest bartender ever behind, so you're gonna have rhubarb for everybody that is coming. It's very good. It's tasty. It's different. Like if you don't know this, it's like these bitter and sweet things that it's really interesting. The Spritz culture. Spritz is arriving in Greece. It's true. Like everybody starts to make Spritz, you know, Aperol, like a sparkling wine, okay? But you have to know that Aperol now is the most popular brand used for make Spritz. But in the past, it was not like that. In the past, every single city of the north of Italy is Spritz. So if you go to Padua, you can find Aperol. But if you go to Milan, you use Campari. If you go to Venezia, they use Select. If you go to for example, al city they use Rabarbaro, Cynar, in Verona use Bianco Sarti, in Venezia Select Pilla. So Also, the Spritz was a concept. It's not a recipes. Nothing starts like a recipes in Italy. Nothing. It's always a concept. A wine that is strong, where you had soda. But after, it's too simple, so you had bitters. This is another Italian concept.
It
Wine,
was
soda, and bitter.
it was an agricultural tradition. So the farmer used to go to work with a bottle of white wine, soda or water, and lemon zest. It was the farmer that used this to fight against the hot temperature, and that then became a drink. But
And now
it was
it's,
a tradition.
it's becoming popular and popular and popular, because now you can go all around the world and you can find Spritz. But you have to know that you can make Spritz with whatever you like. You can make Spritz. I see life with Rabarbaro, with Campari, with Montenegro, with the new spirits that I find, the roots spirit. But you can do Spritz with these kind of things. You can do Spritz with Mastica. Try, just find your balance. Spritz is a concept. It's not a recipes. We don't have to be focused on the recipes, because recipes sometimes are really dangerous, because you say, hey, this is a recipe, so I have to do exactly like that. It's really dangerous. If you want to do exactly like Jerry Thomas, you have to have the same guest that Jerry Thomas have in his bar. And no, there is not anymore this kind of guest. So you have to change, you have to improve. But after that, something happened. Catastrophe. Okay? What's happened? Come to the dark side, becomes a clone. Everybody wants to do the same things. Everybody wants to have just one Americano. Americano is bitter, Campari, and vermouth. That's it. Finish. Americano culture is disappear. Okay? Is arriving now, but for 25 years, 30 years, nobody was drinking Americano in Italy. So, today Italy is experiencing the disappearance of territoriality in favor of global standardization. Why I say that this is a no global masterclass? Because no, globalization is good, but we have to pay attention to what we do. Because you know what's happened, that for example, the modern Italian bartenders are slave of the creativity. They are not focused anymore in more than 2,000 years of history that creates some of the most important products in the history. For example, the vermouth. Without the vermouth, Mr. Jerry Thomas, Mr. Eric Johnson, what they do? Without the vermouth, there was not the Manhattan, the Martinez, the martini cocktail culture didn't start. Vermouth is one of the most important products in the history. Is the keystone of the evolution. If you take the first book of mixing drinks, the Jerry Thomas book, how many cocktails you can find there? Who know? How many cocktails there is in Jerry Thomas bar book? Cocktails. 12? Brandy cocktail, whiskey cocktail, bottled brandy cocktail, Crasta, 12 I think so. When you take the 20 years later Eric Johnson bar book, how many cocktails you have? Almost 100. You know why? Because vermouth is arrived. Sweet vermouth, dry vermouth is arrived, and they start to evolve the culture, because vermouth was a complex thing that the Americans never tasted before. They have Porto, they have sherry, they have champagne, they have a lot of different wine, but no one of this drink wine was complex. Everything was just wine. When vermouth is arrived in the United States, was a boom, was a revolution, was complex. You can add the vermouth to the whiskey and have an amazing things, the Manhattan. You can add vermouth to anything and becomes better. So in Italy we are losing this tradition, because we are thinking about put the smoke inside, create, I don't know, like a castle near the drinks, arriving at the bar with the tray, and after we don't know that how to serve a proper vermouth. So you'd have to imagine that in the In 80-70, in Italy there was something like 300 vermouth producer, and today there's 9. Okay? So it's really bad. It's bad for you also, because you can have 300 vermouth and now you have 9. So much better to have 300.
Maybe you can find 3.
Maybe you can find 3. Okay.
And most of these guys don't put vermouth in the fridge. So a bottle of vermouth after 2 days is right.
It's a
gone.
wine.
So know how properly handle a traditional product like the vermouth is of the most importance.
Put the vermouth in the fridge after
Put the
that it's
vermouth
open.
in the fridge.
Like you do with the Barolo, like you do with the, but not only the vermouth, also the Lillet, everything that is that contains wine inside. If you
The rule is wine. You have to put in the fridge. If not, it's gone.
So we do believe in globalization. Yes, globalization is really interesting, is important, because help us to understand the world. But let's not sacrifice our tradition.
Thank you.